Call to order, regular township meeting of the Charter Township of Chesterfield, February 20th, 7 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance this evening will be led by the board.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Treasurer LaFata.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph.
Here.
Trustee Demink.
Here.
Trustee Vosper.
Here.
Clerk Berry is here. Supervisor Acciavatti is excused this evening. Our first order of business is to appoint a permanent chair for this meeting.
Clerk Berry, I'll make a motion to appoint you as the chair for this meeting, please.
Support.
We have a motion by Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to appoint Clerk Berry the chair for this meeting. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Scoot this over. Okay, our next item is presentations. We have none, but we do have some department reports. Item 5A, department reports. We have DPW Assistant Superintendent Kevin Johnson.
Assistant. Good evening, Board. I'm actually going to have 3 items, so this will be the first one. I just wanted to update you guys on the underground storage tank reimbursement. Initially, I mentioned that we were going to be reimbursed $30,411.60. The Michigan Underground Storage Tank Authority came back with their a request, and they denied 2 numbers because the charges were prior to the confirmed release, which is charges that cannot be reimbursed. One was for $172.50. One was for $356.25. So our actual reimbursement is going to be $29,882.85. So it's about $500 shy of what we proposed it was going to be prior to the project. Any questions on that? Okay. The second item is Superintendent Coddington talked last meeting about having to repair a dump truck, getting the transmission repaired because it was in need of immediate repair. The transmission was bad. The total amount for that came to $6,604.85. That was performed by Custom Truck and Trailer. We took it there. We had an employee drive it there on its last good leg to get it there safely. While we understand the protocol is to get 3 quotes, we didn't feel it was in the best interest to put our employee safety at risk driving it from place to place. This place did great work for us last time, so we felt it was a good place to take it to get repaired. Is there any questions on that charge? Okay. The last item is, obviously everyone knows there's a lot of flooding going on in the township today due to all the rain and the melting snow. A lot of our guys were over at Anchor Road and Jefferson area dealing with a lot of issues over there, as well as a concerned resident over on Lake Point helping people out. And just to let everyone know that if there's any questions at all about flooding, feel free to call the DPW at 586-949-0400, extension 3. We'll be happy to, answer any phone call and see what we can do to help them out. We have a select few guys, so we'll try to get as many concerns as we can and get to all their homes. So please be patient with us because there is a lot of flooding going on in the township. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
I appreciate the work that we were talking about just before the board meeting, and I know some residents have called, and I know our people have been out, and when we make the determination that the problem is really a county issue, whether it be a culvert or something, in close proximity to the road, do we have a mechanism to sort of advocate for, do we have contacts with the county? Because it's, I know in some instances residents get frustrated because they think, that their immediate relief is with the township, but in reality, we're not even authorized to make some of the, corrections because it involves the roadway or a culvert. What's the best mechanism for trying to get some relief to people? Because, the other thing that they're used to hearing is it's not the township, it's the county, but they pay their taxes to us. We agree every year to collect taxes, and so, you know, it's natural to come to us for relief. What's the mechanism to try to help our residents in terms of accessing the county?
What we normally recommend is when we go out and talk to somebody is, number one, we'll let them know that we'll call the county for them, let them know that there's an issue, but we also advocate for the resident to say, please call the county yourself as well so they know there's a concern. So the more phone calls they get, the more apt they are to come out and basically help you with your need. And again, also, if a resident, say, calls the county and they get a response from the county and so nothing happens, to feel free to call us, let us know what they told you, and then we can proceed to have a conversation with them to try to get their situation handled.
Great.
So we do everything we can to help the resident out in any capacity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Mr. Johnson? Could you repeat that number again, our DPW?
Yes, it's 586-949-0400, extension 3.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions by the board? Thanks. Item 6 is the consent agenda.
Whoa, I think you got Josh coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Josh.
Sorry.
Sorry, you weren't on the agenda. I didn't know you were next.
That's okay. It was kind of a last-minute thing, so I just wanted to give you a quick update on 4 topics that we're dealing with. First, you'll notice that the senior center here is a little bit darker than usual. We started our senior center HVAC repair and replacement, so we had to shut down some circuits on this end of the building, but we'll get those back lit up tomorrow. So that project's going well. Second, I just wanted to touch on the fire station RFP project. So we sent that out. We got 15 responses, which was really good. So 15 people that were really interested in that project. We got some really good feedback. We got some really good questions. So we won't see anything again until March 13th when that RFP is due, but we're looking pretty good so far. Third, I'd like to talk about Brandenburg Park real quick. I know in our budget meetings we had put some money aside to put in redo those tennis courts. So I just wanted to let you know that we reached out and we got a couple different options. One of the options I'm pretty excited about, we found out the other day that Sterling Heights has been redoing a lot of their courts with this product called Sport Court, and they've been buying it in high volume. Well, we might have the option coming up. We're working on some final pricing now, and I'm hoping at the next board meeting to share it with you. But if we can buy at the same time they're buying their courts, we can share in volume pricing. So we're working on that now. I just wanted to kind of give you an update, and I'll share more information with you at the next board meeting. The real reason I'm here, though, is we currently have an issue at the DPW with our main building generator. We've been having a series of problems. It's a newer unit, but we have a maintenance contract on that unit, but that unit has failed. Right now, we've pulled it out of service. We've had issues with the charger, and we'd have issues with the startup. So to be safe, we gave our current vendor every option possible to come out and fix the problem, and he's just basically, at this point, I'll just be short with you, he's kind of giving us the runaround. So I reached out to Cummings, the manufacturer, had their representative come out, which was tough to do. We got them out fast. They went through the unit, and just as of a couple days ago, they sent me a proposal for about $5,200 worth of repairs. Now, half of that is to replace an existing charger that our current vendor put in about a couple months ago that's been failing. The other half of it is what they determine a necessary tune-up. Because the unit itself, there were some bleeder valves that were pinched, so there's some carbon building up. So I'm looking at this as an urgent repair, and I would like to move forward. But I kind of just wanted to get some feedback from the board on your thoughts, because it's hard enough to get Cummings out there in the first place, and I got a feeling they might not get to us until the next meeting, but if I have the opportunity to get them out sooner than later, I'd really like to go ahead with this repair. The estimate was all in about $5,600 and change, but I got a feeling they'll do it for less because I had to push that estimate up for some extra time. And while they're there, it only makes sense if they're going to replace the charger to also do the tune-up at the same time. Moving forward, I did help from our current vendor. I held back a big chunk of their balance that we've owed them for the last couple months because I knew this issue was ongoing. So I'd like to get the Cummings issue resolved so I can work with the vendor at the same time to resolve both these issues. And we've been working at this for a while, and to me it's critical because our backup servers for the township are in that building. So if they go down, we got about an hour, and then our batteries are gonna go dead. Now we could have somebody run over there, plug in those units, and keep them going for now, but I think this is a pretty critical item.
Questions from the board?
Can we make a motion to approve the expenditure even though it's not an agenda item?
Yes, we can. Yes.
I just had a question before we get into that. I was curious as to the cost of the service contract. What do we pay for that service contract?
So the service contract is a general maintenance service contract, and you are correct. I went back and I can show you, I got plenty of documentation to support our holding those funds from our current provider because their last service was in November 15th. They did a 2-hour run load test where they ran those units at full load for 2 hours. During that load test, I asked them real specific questions. Were we low on oil? Because our mechanics at the shop noticed it was 2.5 gallons low on oil. So we asked him, and his response to me was, well, we looked at the oil when it started, but I didn't check it after. And I have a series of mistakes that they've made along the way that we're going to hold them accountable for, at least the chunk of money that we currently owe them, which I believe is like $2,500. So if we can easily have them try to come out and fix it again, but, bless you, the last time they were out, the last scenario they could come up with was, they believed it was the batteries for the unit. The batteries are less than 3 months old. Just for the sake of argument, I had those batteries out tested. We knew it was an issue, and of course it wasn't the batteries. So every solution they've come up with, they just haven't been able to solve the problem. Cummings came out, and in a matter of 15 minutes, they identified 3 or 4 different things, basic stuff, that he saw was an issue. One, like I said earlier, the bleeder tubes were kinked, that shouldn't happen, and a few other things that they pointed out right off the bat. So some of the big expenses out of this $5,600 are on the maintenance side of it. When you do a tune-up like this, you got to replace a lot of plug wires. Well, those wires alone are $1,200 and some dollars. You know what I mean? So there's big chunks of things in that money, and I can share all that information with you, and I gladly will before we move forward.
But I would ask, and I think one of the things that we addressed, maybe last board, it was a little contentious, was this idea of prepaying service contracts, and in talking with Mr. Seibert, we really had no leverage if if the contract wasn't fulfilled. If we were paying things, in January for an entire year, and providers didn't do exactly what you're doing, what was the incentive? Clearly, we see the incentive now. I would just like to make sure, and I agree with Trustee Demink in terms of this idea of going forward and getting you the necessary to take care of critical things. But I would also like to see your notes and your documentation forwarded to the township legal team, because when we get into issues involving contract and withholding payment, we might do well to get that to the appropriate folks if we see litigation potentially or problems in that area. So
No problem.
I would like to see you forward that,
Sure.
CC the board, but also get that over to Ms. Anderson,
I've kinda
Mr.
kept
Seibert and their team.
Timeline record too, so
Great.
I'll give you everything I got, and then, just to keep you in the loop.
Josh, how long have we had this maintenance company with the township?
I believe it's been a 2-year contract, I think it's, about a 2.
Have they been with us for a while, or is it just a new company?
Two years, and we're actually at the end of the contract. So if we would have paid them out, their contract's over in March, I believe. So, but I think it's a good thing to have Cummings come in, the manufacturer, because that's how this originally started. I asked the electrician who installed the unit, that actually sold the township the unit, what would you recommend? And he said I would have Cummings out. And when Cummings came out, the sales guy from Cummings, actually the maintenance tech, he said, believe it or not, at one of the circuit courts in Detroit, the same generator maintenance company we have, they're having the same type of problems at a court in Detroit. So he shared that information with me. So it's not only us. I think it's just
What's the overall cost of that unit if you were to replace the entire unit?
it's a 350 kVA unit. I could only imagine if you got into the parts and pieces, it's a pretty expensive unit. It's one of the major components of the building, that's for sure. What's that?
Well over 100,000.
100,000?
Well over that, maybe 200.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Clerk Berry, I'll make a motion if the board's fine with that to approve the expenditure to repair the generator at the DPW per Mr. Sonnenberg's recommendations.
Support?
And to withhold the remaining payments to the maintenance company that's failed to perform its due diligence.
Continued support. I would just ask that we also, maybe a friendly amendment to that is contingent upon, the recommendation from,
Council?
yes.
Okay.
So if you can just restate your motion just for clarity, so we get it all the elements involved.
what do we want to do on a price, 5,600, Jess?
Yeah.
To approve $5,600 in expenditures to repair the generator over at DPW, the Cummings generator, to get the needed repairs done, and to withhold the remaining balance due to the maintenance company until reviewed by Seibert and Dlosk's legal team.
Support.
We have a motion by trustee Demink, support by trustee Joseph to approve an expenditure of $5,600 to repair the generator unit at the DPW building and to withhold final payment on the balance of the service contract to the current provider until such time that it's been reviewed by our legal team. Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Thank you. Item 6 is the consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments on the consent agenda items are permitted. A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of February 5th, 2018, and the special board meeting of February 12th, 2018. B, approval of the agenda with addendums if necessary. And item C, approval of the payment of bills as submitted by the Finance Department.
So moved.
Support.
We have a motion by trustee Demink, supported by trustee Anderson to approve the consent agenda. Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Regular agenda, item 7A, recommendation by the Supervisor's Office to appoint Nicole Gray to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term to expire March 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Support.
Motion by trustee Vosberg, support by trustee Demink. Discussion. And I believe we do have Ms. Gray here with us. Okay, any questions? Okay,
Thanks for your service, Ms. Gray.
Okay, seeing no questions, we'll call the roll. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Congratulations. Item 7B, reclassification of one vacant general laborer position to one building maintenance technician position in the Department of Public Works. And we have Human Resource Director, Mr. Herpich.
Yep, just an overview, we've got a vacant general labor position, and just in discussing the needs of the facilities and operations area with Josh, we really need someone there. Josh really needs someone there who has a different skill level, area, some expertise in some of the building trades, HVAC, and some of those building needs to help Josh in that area. So we're requesting a reclassification of that vacant general labor position to a new title, building maintenance technician, and the pay for that position is linked to the utility worker position in that bargaining unit. So any questions I can answer for you, or Josh as well, based on what the needs are for that position, Josh can answer those questions for you too.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve this. I have a question after it's supported.
Sure.
Support.
We have a motion by trustee Vosberg, supported by trustee Joseph. Discussion. Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you. You had mentioned, Eric, that it's tied to another position.
Yes,
and It's comparable.
yes, as far as responsibilities and skill level and need.
Okay, but is there somebody currently in that position?
In the utility worker position?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then who does this person report to?
This person is going to report to Josh.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions by the board or any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll call the roll. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is public hearing. We have none this evening. There is no addendum. We're now moving on to public comments. If any member of the public wishes to address the board, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record, please.
Right down there, ma'am.
My name is Ada Case, and I live on Lake Point. Hi, my name's Ada Case, and I live on Lake Point. And I got lots and lots of water in my yard. It almost come up, you know, like it's not much being up to my door. And the lady next door, when she was alive, about 2 or 3 years ago, she said that she put something in her ditch there, the drain, that a delivery man in a truck came up and broke it. And I've had water problems ever since. Me and my neighbor next door were the last two on a dead-end street. And so it floods. The water don't go down to the drain like it used to. And so they're handicapped, my two neighbors are, both of them, a husband and a wife. Or they would have been here tonight because they're very annoyed too. And so there's nothing nobody can do except I complained about it before, but nothing was done. They didn't. She was alive back then. She died this year, and so her son lives in the house and his friend. And I don't say anything because, you know, I just came to the board, came into Chesterfield to tell them again, I want it fixed. I want something taken care of. I don't want to be flooded. And then they tell me that I may have to see somebody else, the county or whatever. And so I would like that taken care of, because it's a real pain. I got water in the backyard and water in the front, you know, I mean, it's terrible. So I'm just praying that God wouldn't let it rain anymore, that he would be merciful and at this time and forget us here in Chesterfield in Macomb County and just let the rain go over to the lake or somewhere away from us. So that's why I'm here. I wanted to come and tell people, you know, we can't help it. We can't do nothing about it. We're helpless. So maybe somebody can check into it. And they should have done that back then because she's not here now, but her son lives there and his friend. And the people across the street knew what happened because the son was married to the lady across the street, and they got a divorce. They had a son, and they got a divorce, and she remarried. So anyway, the man she remarried knows what happened there too. So he says, was telling what happened to it, you know, when they come out to look at it, your people, 2 or 3 years ago, but they still didn't do nothing because I figure they think it's not their fault. You know, like you said, it could be the county or whatever, the state or whoever takes care of it. So I just wanted to let you guys know that it's not easy going west when you're headed north, you know. Okay, thank you.
We have our DPW superintendent, Mr. Coddington. Could you check into that for the board members, you and Kevin, and see if you can help this lady?
Yeah, we were over there today and opened up all the culverts on our roads.
Well, the thing about it is,
Thank you.
her name, and if she got somebody, she had to get somebody
Mrs.
to
Case?
work on it.
We're going to have someone help you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments this evening? Any other public comments?
Gerald Burak, 28673 Sunray. Does anybody know when Mike Lovelock is going to be sentenced and if he's going to do any jail time?
Thank you. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Seeing none, I'll bring it back up to the board. And this evening, we'll start with Trustee Anderson.
Thank you, ma'am. First thing, a week ago Monday, we had a special meeting regarding the upgrading the planning of the master plan for the township. And what became apparent is the Zoning Board of Appeals, which meets, excuse me, twice a month, hasn't had a meeting since the first one in November. And I know things slow down in the winter time, but what's good about that is a lot of the issues that appear in front of the zoning board are citizens or residents or developers looking for some type of modification or existing ordinances and that. And I think a lot of the lack of activity there is a good thing because the township is upgrading a lot of its practices. And a lot of time we take things for granted. I'd like to commend Gary DeMaster and also Jonathan Paling from planning and Gary from the building department who upgrade a lot of our ordinances, getting us more into the 21st century. Second thing, the issue we have, we're laboring under now, had a blizzard a week ago, and now we got this 60-degree weather. People in Florida are like, I shouldn't even mention it, 10, 20 degrees warmer than us. And we have an accumulation of water here. And unless you're a fan of koi ponds in your yard, and I don't say that to be humorous, it is problematic. And in the last few years, calling our DPW and our former supervisor, that a lot of our roads, majority of them belong to the county. And trying to get them to move off center in some of these issues is problematic. Mr. Joseph made some good observations earlier in the meeting. But still, like Mrs. Casey, you're in the situation you're putting up with, living on an island right now you didn't ask for. I know I've talked to Mr. Johnson, Mr. Coddington's assistant, and he's going to check in tomorrow, see what can be done in your case. And the number given out earlier is if you find yourself out there in a situation of excessive flooding, and if you go up and down Sugar Bush, it's ridiculous. Kind of try to spot where the driveways are at going up to the houses. You can call 586-949-0400, extension 3. That's our DPW. Let them know, and if they can do anything, they're very, very accommodating. At least they'll try to get the ball rolling and hopefully in the right area. And I do appreciate you, Kevin and Don and Mrs. Case. I appreciate your words tonight. Thank you.
Would you repeat that number?
I'll give it to you.
Trustee Demink.
Thank you, Clerk Berry. First, I'd like to welcome Nicole Gray. Welcome to the Parks and Rec Commission. You were at that last meeting, and I think you'll be great on the team and working with Amanda and everybody else. Thank you for your time. My public service message tonight is baseball registration ends this week. Now is the time to register. We have a variety of youth leagues available for kids ages 5 to 15. Practices and games are played at Pollard Park, Township Offices, Memorial, or Festival Park. Boys and girls will be on the field having fun while receiving optimal playing time from enthusiastic and encouraging coaches. Boys and girls can register in the following divisions. T-ball is $50. Pitching machine is $70. Minor baseball is $80. Major baseball is $80. Senior boys is $85. Our non-resident fee is just $5. Please come out and enjoy the fun. And last day to register is this Friday, February 23rd. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Trustee Joseph.
Thank you. Just picking up on Trustee Anderson. So the issue with regard to the flooding, we're seeing a lot of it around the township. I was talking with Mr. Johnson prior to the meeting about some residents that have been calling me with a particular problem that they have. And we run into this in a similar way with the snow because I'm sure the township gets flooded with calls for snow removal. And the maintenance of the roads falls within the county. It is the county responsibility. A lot of times when residents will call with flooding issues, You find issues that are dealing with the culvert, which is, I don't know if I'm using the proper terminology, but also falls under the jurisdiction of the county. What happens in the case that you're talking about, Ms. Case, is that you believe there was some damage done or some problems with a culvert a little bit further down where it was damaged. And I know, just in the spirit of ordinance, there are things that you cannot do to your property because it impacts your neighbors. So changing the grade, bringing in massive amounts and changing artificially the grade so that things don't flow properly would be not in accordance with our ordinance. And on some level, I think even though it is down by the road, if a resident alters their drainage and their grade to the point that it causes problems for their neighbor, I'm curious, what's our jurisdiction, what's the county? And it depends based on, of course, the individual situation, but also sometimes people walk away with dramatically different information depending on who arrives at the house and who sees what. I would really like to see a protocol developed in the township so that when we have a resident complaint and a very specific problem like Ms. Case has, that we follow, although all of these problems are unique, that we follow a protocol that involves our people making an initial assessment and then providing direction to that resident. So we make a determination, and Ms. Case's example, she brings a very specific problem that involves damage to the system a little bit further on down the line. Is it the responsibility? Right, the lady that passed away, and she told you what had occurred there. So in our case, I think what I would like to see is if we have one of our people out there and we clearly see that damage to the culvert really belongs then to the property owner, what's the move going forward? Instead of just making a determination that this may be a county issue or let's have a protocol so that our people know exactly what the next step is, and then we can begin to formulate a real plan that isn't, in my house, when something gets broken and I come home and I ask, I go through my daughters, and it's Mr. Nobody. There's always Mr. Nobody is responsible because nobody knows who did it. And in some way, it's very frustrating for you because you make a lot of calls and you're just trying to get relief, but where does the call belong? Whose responsibility is that would be a neat trick to know. And let's at least start out there by identifying who it is that's responsible so that they're elected, leaders, because ultimately, we collect the tax. The tax that you send to Macomb County, we authorize every year, the school taxes and so forth. You authorize us to collect those taxes, and we do that. We have a duty of care and we have an obligation. So I think it starts with a protocol. I'd like to see that in place. Also, I'd like to point out what a great event the Friends of Chesterfield Police held over the weekend. Fantastic fundraiser that brought, really they were turning people away at the door. The bowlers were lined up down the block to get in. Just a phenomenal army of volunteers. The executive board with the Friends of Chesterfield Police and the Friends volunteers. I think every member of the McNair family, extended, in-laws, grandparents, children were out there. They were either bowling or selling raffle tickets or just trying to help process people and get them in. All accounts a great event. It was really something. So thank you to the Friends of Chesterfield Police. And also please be patient with our DPW. We're anticipated getting more rain. Maybe Ms. Case is onto something. We should get over to church and pray for a little relief, but it's coming, and I believe we got another day or so, and the flood warnings and watches continue for our region, so it's only going to get more problematic with a flood of calls, no pun intended, but we got a mess out there. So be patient with our people. They are working very hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Vosper.
Thank you. I have two things I wanted to talk about. The first is, it's been mentioned already, the potholes that we have all over the roads, and the roads in Chesterfield Township are the county's roads, or they are maintained by the county if it's a state road. And if you have any issues of any kind that you want to report, please call the Department of Roads at 586-463-8671. That's 586-463-8671. And if it's a danger, if you see cars or your own car and very dangerous, you can even, I dial 911. That's even been recommended, to just dial 911 to make sure that it gets reported properly. And the second thing, on a little lighter note, is celebrating the 200th birthday of Macomb County. And Chesterfield Historical Society is participating with some of those other historical societies with a passport program. You can go visit various historical sites and get a passport, and you get your passport stamped at whatever location you're at. And after you get 7 stamps, you can take that to Culver's restaurant for a free meal at Culver's. And right now, during this weather, the site for the historical society is right here in the hallways. There's 34 pictures of the oldest homes still standing in Chesterfield Township. So you can start down at the Parks and Rec Department, get your passport. You can walk up and down the hall, look at all the various pictures, and get that thing stamped back at the Parks and Rec Department. And keep that passport, and there's a list on that passport to other places that you can go. So it's a nice activity to participate in while we're waiting for the weather to get warm and play outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bosberg. Treasurer LaFata.
I'd like to thank the DPW and the building departments for their reports to the board, and I'd like to congratulate Nicole Gray on her appointment to the Parks and Rec Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. From me, just to clarify, the passports that you get in the clerk's department are different than the passports they're going to be issuing for the Historical Society.
There is a free sandwich for
That's true. There's a free sandwich with the ones you'll get down at Parks and Rec for the Historical Society. No free sandwiches at the clerk's department. Every now and then we have cookies. You might get lucky. We can give you one. But speaking of passports, many of you may have heard, or if you have not, the price for processing passports, the cost that you will pay to have your passport processed, the Department of State is raising that by $10. It's going up from $25 to $35 for the passport processing that the agencies do. So in addition to your $110 for your passport book, Chesterfield Township and every other passport processing agent charges a $25 fee. That price goes up from $25 to $35 on April 1st. So if you need to get a passport, you know someone who needs a passport, you're going to want to get into a passport agency like here at the Chesterfield Township Clerk's Office prior to April 1st, and you'll save yourself $10. So that's the first thing. Second thing is our new website, we're very excited to announce, is up and running. It is absolutely fabulous. I think you're going to love the changes that have been made to it. It's been completely revamped, easier to find, more user-friendly, and I invite you to go to www.chesterfieldtwp.org to view our new website, and hopefully all the information that you will need is located there and much easier for you to find and navigate. Forms that you may need at the township offices are available online there as well. All the department contact information is there. Pretty much anything that you can think of, links to the police department, fire department, all township departments are there for you as well. So please check that out, and we'd appreciate your feedback on that as well. That's been almost a year in the making, actually a little bit more than a year in the making, so we're really pleased to finally unveil that today when we made that public. So lastly, this Thursday we will have our community enrichment program, Supermoms Guides the Good Life, and I encourage all super moms, we all are, all moms are super moms, to come out and join us. We have Township resident Kathy Eubanks. She is a nationally recognized author and speaker who is going to be here with us talking about how to best manage all of those things that moms have to manage, and I think she's going to offer some phenomenal advice. We've also got some terrific surprises for our moms who come, and I'd love to share those with you, but then it wouldn't be a surprise. So we'd love to see you here. That is Thursday here at the township offices, and that program starts at 6:30. Okay, at this point, we are now at item 12, which is our closed session. Do we have a motion to enter into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session.
Support.
Motion by trustee Demink, supported by trustee Joseph, to enter closed session for discussion regarding strategy and negotiation sessions pursuant to Section 8C of the Open Meetings Act at 7:42. Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosper.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. We are in closed session.
Open session.
Motion by trustee Demink.
Support.
We have a second. Supported by trustee Joseph to re-enter open session at 7:50. Trustee Demink. Aye.
Barry, I like them.
Hang on, we're gonna take a vote on
aye,
re-entering
yeah,
closed
oh,
session.
aye.
Enter open
Yes.
session. Trustee Demink. Trustee
Aye.
Joseph. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. We are returned to open session.
Make a motion to approve the agenda request for approve the letter of agreement between AFSCME Local 2172 Clerical and Township of Chesterfield. You want to just put them all into one motion, or do we need to do separate?
Let's do them separately.
Okay, I'll make, that's the first one.
We have a motion by trustee Demink to approve the letter of agreement between AFSCME AFSCME Local 2172.11 Clerical and the Township of Chesterfield as discussed in closed session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Demink, seconded by treasurer LaFata. Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. I'll make a motion to approve a letter of agreement between the Police Officers Labor Council, POLC, Clerical, and the Township of Chesterfield as discussed in closed session.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Berry, support by Trustee Vosberg to approve as stated. Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer LaFata.
Aye.
Motion passes. And item 13 is adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by trustee Demink, support by trustee Vosberg to adjourn at 7:53. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?